Hi, welcome back to my channel. My name is Desi, and it is the end of another month, so that means a monthly wrap-up. This month, I had a really good reading month, and I read some books for middle grade March, and I read some books just for reading for the month. I do have a video up for middle grade March, so I'm not going to talk too much into detail about those books, but I will read them off. I read Mary Poppins, Boxcar Children #1, Crenshaw, and A Song of a Whale. Again, really loved participating in middle grade March, so thank you to the hosts, and let's get into what I read that wasn't middle grade. Okay, so this month I read Romantic Comedy by Curtis Sittenfeld, and the main character in the book, Sally, is a sketch writer for, I believe, The Night Owls is what the TV show is called. And the start of the book, she is giving you the week leading up to the main Saturday night premiere, and it goes into detail about like the behind the scenes of what it takes to run a comedy sketch live show, similar to something we all probably know. Not going to say any names. There is a musician that is being the talent and also hosting the show, which is fun to see his perspective as well. And it just goes kind of day to day in the week of. With that, there is a slight connection between her and the musician, and she is, I don't want to say kind of skeptical, but she is not one to fully jump into whatever could be. So they have like a misconnection. Fast forward, it's a couple years later, 2020, height of COVID. She sends out an email to him. They reconnect and kind of goes on this journey of like, should I come to visit you? What's going on? What are we doing? Throw in some family dynamics and a little bit of family, I don't want to say emergency, but little family dynamics. And it was a good book. It was my first I read of his, and I enjoyed it. There were times where I was like, oh, do I want to read something from the pandemic? Because it's kind of, seriously, I know it's been 4 years, but it has not felt like 4 years. And I don't know if it's too close to be reading something that was so recent. And obviously not a good time for anybody. So I was a little hesitant on that, but I'm glad I overcame that and read it because I truly enjoyed it. Another book I read was The Cook by Maylis du Kerangal. I might be saying that completely wrong. It was a translated book, super small, like it was 100 and some odd pages, my copy I had, and I picked it up from the library because it had the most simplistic cover on it. It was like pale white, and it just had almost like watercolor drawings of food on it, on vegetables. Anyway, you follow this Parisian chef, Maro, and it's told by third person. But the whole story is how he came to love food, his journey with food and cooking aspect, and going from being a cook and helping bake in the kitchen at home as a child to being a starving college kid and whipping things up and kind of getting a little bit of a reputation of having such a good background in actual good quality recipes, but with simple ingredients, because you're a starving college kid to after college and restaurants and then maybe opening a restaurant and figuring out what that looks like. And I think it is never mentioned, but I think it's told from one of his serious relationships he has during this time period. And it was so well written and really flowed. I would say it's a short book, but it has so much complexity in it and it has so much detail in it that it is very full-bodied for being a shorter novel. Okay, so you know me, and you know that I cannot seem to go a month without reading a spicy book. My spicy book this month was Hooked by Emily McIntire. Now, this is a villains get their happy ending, fairy tale kind of retellings, and Hooked is based on a Peter Pan, and the main character, James, owns a bar, and his enemy is Peter Michaels. And Peter Michaels comes to town, and he kind of wants to get into, I want to say, some shady-ish business that obviously James is a part of too. And again, James is like, I don't like you for multiple reasons, yada, yada, yada. In walks Wendy, Peter's young daughter, and James goes, I know how I'm going to get Peter back. Okay, so he wants to ruin Wendy. He wants to make her fall in love with him and just leave her high and dry, and that is going to affect Peter more because he has a soft spot for his kids, regardless of the dynamic of relationship between the two and between father and daughter, because it's not the best relationship, but let me tell you, it was a good book. And again, I read it in like a day and a half. Did not want people to bother me. I wanted to read this book, and I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the, how do I say this? I enjoyed having the aspects of Neverland, because they named the airplane Neverland Air with an E, and James didn't like clocks. It was just, there were elements of the movie in it, but adult versions of it, and it tied in so well. I read Cujo by Stephen King this year. It was a book club pick, and I was thoroughly surprised. I enjoyed it. I've put it off so long because I was like, I really don't want to read about a lady stuck in a car with a dog on the outside. It's a bigger book, and so there's like love and hate behind it, reviews, and I'm just like, I would pass by it and I go, not right now, not right now. So I'm glad that I had a book club to kind of push me and have read it, because it was extremely fantastic, and also very little about her being in the car, which I don't know why I thought that she was going to be in the car the whole time. I don't know. Anywho, so Donna is the main character, one of the main characters, her husband, and also Tad. So it kind of bounces between those points of view. You get family dynamics between Donna and her husband, and you get a little bit of his work intake. And I know it sets up the story of why she was stranded. And mind you, this is set back in time when they don't have cell phones, where, she was going to a car repair shop. Instead of going out of town and having the car crap on her, she was going to just a farmhouse kind of auto mechanic, does work in the barn, does really well work, this mechanic, but he's like, I would say an independent mechanic. And so that's where she ends up with her 4-year-old son, who wanted to go with her. And she's like, no, I really want you to stay with the babysitter. And he's like, but Dad's gone. And he kind of guilt trips his mom into like, hey, take me with you. So she does. They get into a situation with Cujo, which is a 200-pound Saint Bernard. And it's unfortunate because Cujo is now rabid. And truly, like, I did not think I would feel sympathy for the dog and what happened to him, but I did. And it's just heartbreaking. And the thing about it is what happened and how the turn of events came for Cujo. Like, could technically happen to any dog that you don't take proper veterinary care for. I'm not saying that that could not have happened if he went to the vet as well, but I think it could have. I don't know if it could have prevented it. That's not the point of the story, but I enjoyed it. Again, huge Stephen King fan. I was so surprised. There was so much detail in the story about other things that did not involve Cujo, but then also involved Cujo. And you got a little bit of his perspective too, which I really enjoyed. And I think Stephen King hit it on the head with this one again. All right, my second to last book I read was Botanist's Guide to Parties and Poisons by Kate Khavari, however you say her last name. Anyway, it was a fantastic book. We follow, the main character is Saffron Everly, and she is an assistant in the biology department at the campus in London, and her, I would say, boss and a few others are going on an expedition in the Amazon. Before they go, they have like a big kind of farewell type of dinner. Someone dies at the dinner. There are a lot of suspects, and Saffron takes it upon herself to try to solve it with the help of someone she met at the party, and that was Alexander. And they get into kind of a few mischief things, and don't mind my kids freaking out upstairs. And I enjoyed the book. It had a little twists and turns. It kind of left you hanging in some places, but I think overall how it wrapped up was fantastic. Okay, so my last book I read was Happy Place by Emily Henry. Also, don't mind my child playing with a toy over there. You're going to hear it. I almost got done with this video without them coming down and wanting to play with toys. So in Happy Place, you have Harriet and Wynn, and they're together as a couple throughout their college years, and they're in a group of friends that always travel to Maine for like spring break or break in school, and they always make it a yearly tradition. Well, this year, they have a secret. They have split up. They've been broken up for months, and the trip is coming up, and they want to keep it together. They want to keep it to themselves. So they decide to fake date during this week. Things come up during the week that they realize, hey, this might not work for us. Our friends might be catching on. And it was a great spring break read for me. It would be a great beach read. I've heard good things and bad things, but for me, it was such a good read. So that is going to be my wrap up. I hope that you enjoyed that. Tell me what you think. Tell me if you've read these books. Give me any book recommendations down there. I would love to hear them. And until next time, I'll talk to you soon.